This episode includes personal reflections on suicide, childhood abuse, and domestic violence. If you're in a vulnerable place, please take care while listening and know that support is always available. Helpline resources are included in the full episode.
This episode is one that I've been waiting to record for a very, very long time. Dan is someone I deeply admire, not because of what he's done in the tech industry, but because of the way he carries himself. With heart, intention, this unshakable connection to his identity. In this conversation, we explore what it means to navigate the world and the workplace, particularly through a Māori lens, to an identity lens. Dan speaks about the moment he chose to be unapologetically Māori. We talk about the masks that we wear to survive in corporate spaces, the healing power of whenua, land, and moana, the sea, the ocean, and the deep wisdom that comes with knowing where you stand in what he calls the river of your whakapapa. He shares personal stories of burnout, of grief, of hope, and a metaphor that I really adore, that I will probably never forget. I feel like this is not just another episode. A space for truth, for connection, for remembering that we're never truly alone. As he says, let the island find you. Let's put the best of ourselves out there so the best version of our future comes to us. This is mine, Middleware. Dan Walker is my guest. Welcome. Would you mind starting us before we go into the conversation?
Ka pai. I'm happy to. And tēnā koutou katoa, e ngā rangatira kua awakorongo mai. Hello to everyone out there who's listening to this and to this important podcast talking about mental well-being, talking about our health, talking about what it means to be a good person, a good dad, a good husband, all of those things, but also just a good person in this world. So we'll start off with a karakia. Comes from Taranaki. This karakia is it's mainly from South Taranaki, but has connections to a few other places, and it talks about connection. Connection to those who have come before us and laid the pathways, connections to the land that we're on, and those who have stepped here and laid pathways here as well in the physical realm. Connection to the world around us, to the trees, the sea, the sky, the clouds, the rain, and knowing that we connect to those, ancestrally connected. And then a connection from a spiritual perspective, and whatever spirituality that may mean for you, there's an acknowledgement in there. And then there's an acknowledgement to those ones going through hardship at this time, any of your whānau going through hardship, your friends, but also to those on the other side of the world, especially in these very tough times from a war perspective. Sending out aroha to those in that time as well. So this is what this karakia talks about. Ka waka pai I tēnei hui tō tātou waka moimete ki te atua, no reira kei inoi tā. Puri te amai te tau te rangi kia tīna kia wena kia tokta manawa o. Tīna tokta manora ki wea, tīna tokta manora ki rangi nui e tūne ki papatuna ki takato nei. Ki tēnā o tātou te wānau me wanaunga mi ngā pinanga karangu. A apate tuki tonga māwiwi ki tunga te tauri e te pauritanga. Koe ara I runga kare, I runga tuturu waka maua kia tīna, hui e, ai. Tēnei te mihi ki tō tātou nei atua, e hona mai nei, hei waka pai I a tātou I tēnei wā, tēnā koe. Ki ngā mate me ngā tini aitua o koutou ara I a tātou, nei rā tamihi. Āpiti hono tātou hono, te hunga mate ki te hunga mate, āpiti hono tātou hono, te ongora ki te ongora, urinua ki te ongora, tēnā koutou marata. Reira, ki ngā mana whenua I ora mai nei ki tēnei wai, tēnā koutou, mō koutou manaki me te ake mai. O ngā tangata no konei, me o manaki kia tātou hoki. Nō reira, kia koe te rangatira, tēnā koe mō tō kaupapa, ki tō whānau hoki, mō tō rangatiratanga e pāna ki tēnei kaupapa, tēnā koe. Kia hāpai, kia whakapiki I ngā tangata kia mau, I ngā hauora ki te hinangaro, hauora ki te tinana, hauora ki te whānau, ki te hāpori, katoa, nō reira, tēnā koe. So just wanted to also acknowledge our mana whenua of this place. Also wanted to acknowledge our loved ones who have passed on. This is a time of matariki, I think it's a wellbeing mindfulness process for me, where we think about the last year, and I've lost some loved ones from my iwi, from my whānau, amazing people who have done so much for me, my whānau, for our marae. And then it's also a time to acknowledge the present and all of the gifts that we do have. I'm very lucky to have 3 healthy children, my wife Michelle, so many friends, so many whānau who are still here, and only the living can plant seeds for the future. So, when we say apati hono, tātou hono, we acknowledge our connections to those who have passed on, but then apati hono, tātou hono, te hongo ora ki te ongora, we acknowledge that the people living, it's so important to live. And while we are living, it's a responsibility to live and to do, plant seeds for the future. And then to look to the year ahead. And matariki is about sort of thinking about this next year, all of the good things to come, and being hopeful for the future. So yeah, just wanted to talk about that. And lastly, to talk about you and say thank you for all that you do to your whānau, and the dad that you are, the husband that you are, the friend that you are, and it's also Diego's birthday. So coming up, so we have to have a big shindig for that coming up too. So tēnā koe, happy birthday rā whānau, harihuri tau, kia koe mo tō rā whakahirahira.
Thank you, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I don't want to dig into it too much. You've said so many things that are so nice, and then I want to dig into it right away. But before that, I want to honor the land we live in by honor your ancestors and doing my behalf, because I think that is a respectful thing to do.
Kapai.
To use the language of the place where you are. And I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
By the way. Ena waka, ena mana, ena reo, ena rauranga tira mai. Tēnā koto katoa. Ko supa niu maunga. Ko sukia te awa. Ko Alta Córdoba, tōku marae. Ko Mesoamericanos, mena tau iwi. O Europe, tōku tupuna. No Córdoba, Argentina, tōku whenua. Ko Nievas, tōku whanau. Ko Diego, tōku enua. Thank you so much for agreeing to this.
Kia ora pata. Beautiful. Did you say Argentina? Argentina.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how you say it. I thought it was always Argentina.
Well, that's the English pronunciation. So if you're speaking in English, we usually go Argentina as opposed to Argentina.
Oh, mate, no, I'm gonna.
But it's
yeah.
Please do. Yeah. It will be one of the few.
As someone who respects pronunciation of my language, I'm gonna pronounce your language, man. That was really. I've learned something new, man. That's beautiful.
Thank you,
and well done. It's lovely to hear the where you come from as well, and your connections, your special mountain, your special river, and your special lands.
Yeah. And so a relatively small part of well, it's big compared to other places, but it's a small part of Argentina because it's very big. It's a big country.
Totally.
It's called Córdoba, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
So it's Córdoba, Argentina, for those who don't speak that ill.
No way.
The river is called Suquía, which is similar to powerful Waikato.
Waikato, yep.
So that's what it is.
Huri wake keo no ngā iwi kei raro i te koroa i te maunga tītoia. Ara ko te waka Aotea. Ko tītoko waru te tangata ko manu ia kai te apu ko Ngāti Roa Nui Ngā Rua Ine o Kiwi. Ko tōku kuia no Ngāti Kahungunu ki Wairoa me Tūhaurangi. Me Rongo Mai Wahine. Ko tōku koro no Tainui me Maniapoto. Ko tōku pāpa no ngā kaipuku Wikitoria ko Ngāti Pākehā tōna iwi. Ka puta mai ko au ko Dan te whenua Walker. So, kia ora whānau. Dan Walker is my name, and I come from Taranaki, South Taranaki. Grew up in Christchurch. With mum moved down there with the Māori trade training scheme, and then met my dad, an awesome Pākehā from Scotland and Ireland, and then moved up here many years ago now, 17 years ago, I think, with Michelle. You know, when you're from Christchurch, you always like, for some reason, you grow up hating Auckland, and I was like, I'm never going to live in Auckland, but then I got Michelle pregnant, so we've been up here ever since. All three of our tamariki have been born up here, so live up on the Whangaparoa coast, and just acknowledge all the mana whenua from for their manaakitanga and helping us to live here really and have a good life. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Mom and dad still in Christchurch?
So mum and dad split up when I was young, and then mum moved back to Taranaki.
Mm-hmm.
So she looked after Nana for a while, and now she's a full-time carer for my koro, who's got dementia, 96. And yeah, she's now living in Wanganui. Dad's still living in the same house that I grew up in.
Wow.
And he's there with my other mum, Leanne. And yeah, all of my brothers on my dad's side were all raised in that house, and so that house is still pretty special. I still stay in there, man, when I go to Christchurch. It's a nostalgic feeling.
Regression sometimes.
Yeah, and also, you know, just so many things about that whare, that house, that, you know, I did a lot of gaming in that house, man. And, you know, I used to work doing a paper round when I was 7, and just a lot of friendships there, a lot of friendships broken up. Michelle and I first started dating there, used to sneak her in. And yeah, just the fact that they're still there is pretty cool.
There will be people out there who don't know what you do. They will know much probably who you are, because, you know,
They probably won't, bro.
people know you. Oh, maybe I love you that much. So, you know, I usually separate the human doing from the human being. We just talked about the human being. Why don't you tell us what your human doing is? What do you do?
Yeah,
What's
kia
your
ora, bro.
job?
So I work at Microsoft, and been here for over 6 years now, coming up 7. And just I love tech, and I was lucky to just know that about myself when I was young, and it came from the gaming space, saying I love this, and I kind of figured out early how to pirate games. Back in the days, not now, I promise you. Don't get me in trouble. But yeah, and then I just got into lots of different games. So even though I wasn't particularly an academic person in high school, and I was going through some stuff in terms of my identity, and dropped out of high school with no qualifications really. It was the fact that computers were my safe space, and I was a bit of a nerd when it came to computers. Commodore 64 was my machine, man.
Yes.
Then the Amiga, and then the moving to the Pentium or the IBM clones, and just upgrading stuff and putting new RAM in and stuff like that. I used to love all that stuff. So got into tech through Dick Smith Electronics and retail, and just found that I loved retail and loved working in an environment where, it's a win-win. You're helping your customer, you're building relationships, you're forcing yourself to talk to people, getting used to actually liking people, because I was a bit of a loner back in the days. And then through that, I just rose through the ranks and ended up coming up to assistant manager, store manager, area manager, and then national sales manager. That's when we came up to Auckland, and then went to Noel Leeming as national sales manager, commercial sales manager, and then loved the company, loved the people, and that was my first truly national role where I got to travel a lot across the country. And then went to Samsung, and I was national sales manager of consumer electronics for Samsung. That was cool because we just grew massively, went from just a few people to over 200 really quickly. And yeah, that was my first global role. Got to travel a lot to Korea and Singapore and stuff. Then came to Dell Technologies, where I met the amazing Diego, and just got to work with so many good people there too. Loved that because it was enterprise, enterprise technology and learning about servers and VMs and stuff. I didn't know any of that stuff before. I was like, what's a VM? or like, what's an API? I love APIs. I didn't even know what it was, but I was selling it. But so ended up loving that, building good relationships, and then Microsoft called in, and Matt Boswick called me, who's now moved on and doing really well in the energy space. He reached out to me and said, I'd love to have a chat to you. And I didn't think anything would come to it, but I came into Microsoft as an Azure specialist, so focused on a cloud. Loved that, and grew a lot in terms of learning about tech and cloud and so forth, and learning about the Microsoft way as well. And that's where, coming into Microsoft, it was very much because I was 40, not quite 40, but I was old enough to sort of be more comfortable in my skin, and knowing, actually, I'm Māori and I should be proud of being Māori. I shouldn't hide it and cover it anymore, and I'm going to be unapologetically Māori. And so when Vanessa, our country manager, was my final interview was with her, I'm going to test her out. I'm like, I can't start here unless I have a pōwhiri. And she's like, yep, we'll do that. And I was really surprised. I was like, really? And she said, yep, we'll organise it. And I'm really proud of the fact that she put on a pōwhiri for me to start at Microsoft, to start in the right way. And we had Ngāti Whātua Te Aroha, Grace. Yep, he was there on the other side, and he welcomed us.
What a fantastic fella.
An amazing fella, right? Love that guy, man.
Learned so much from him.
And I still learn from him. And I know that you know him well. So he was the guy who welcomed us, myself and my whānau, onto Microsoft. And then Microsoft was so open to my culture that we helped to create at a global level Indigenous at Microsoft. And I've been privileged to be a part of that group, going from 30, 40 people to now over 4,000 people globally. Still, it's like a whānau.
You chaired that for a while.
I did. I was chair of that for 3.5 years, yeah. And that was just awesome. Just getting connected. Through that, I got to have breakfast with Satya.
Right.
That was like one of those bucket list things, man. And I gifted him a pounamu, bro.
Whoa. How did you take it?
Well, actually, I was, when I told Vanessa, she's like, oh, cool. We should give him a pounamu. Get New Zealand on the map. She's so good at doing that. And I was like, this is crazy. I'm not going to do this. And even right up to the morning, I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to grab it and take it along just in case something happens, like a miracle happens. But, you know, there were so many restrictions. We couldn't take photos of him. There was like no selfies, none of this. It wasn't him doing this, but it's people who were like, you know, they got to protect Satya's like, image and stuff. And so I'm like, and you weren't allowed to kind of go in for a hug or anything. So fair enough. But yeah, I got to, I think the benefit was he's like, right, Dan Walker. Oh, g'day, Dan. I've heard about you. We're going to start with you opening us up with a blessing. And I was like, oh, okay. And so he's like, I was like, kia ora, Satya, and it's an honour to meet you. And he's like, it's an honour to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. And I'm like, really? And then I was like, and just by the way, we're going to be, and I'm from New Zealand. This is special to us, a pounamu, which is, you know, it's only found in one place of the world, the specific type of pounamu on the west coast of the South Island. And we give it to people who we honour and would like to honour you. And so I gifted it to him. You could tell he was emotional. You could tell it connected with him. And that's the thing about culture, like how when we embrace culture truly, it connects at a deeper level.
Absolutely.
And it surpasses all of this financial share price outcomes like that, you know, to hits them in the heart. And I didn't really know if it had an effect, but the next day I was going to the airport, and at the airport I received an email from him, and it's just from Satya to me with this long email saying how much he really appreciates the pounamu and he'll cherish it. Thank you to you and our Kiwi team, and just so much respect for you. And I was like, I've still got that email, man.
Of course.
I want to frame it.
You should. It's like the first dollar that you make.
It's kind of like that, Yeah. And I don't want to idolize the guy too much. Like, he's not, like, put him at a pedestal, but I guess it was more than I expected that I would ever be able to get to in terms of gifting a pounamu to someone.
It's so interesting to me. That's what good leadership looks like as well. Right? So acknowledging the culture, acknowledging what's important to you. Because you said, I don't know if it had that effect on him, but it clearly had an effect on you.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Because you know what it's like in terms of a koha. A koha is a gift, right? But koha is more about the gifting than it is the receiver. And you want to be able to gift something. That's about mana for you. For me, to be able to gift someone something that's the gift. And the fact that he let me gift it to him was massive in itself. And I don't know if he wears it a lot or anything, but I did actually see him. It's about 2 months later. It was in All Hands, because he does monthly All Hands, and he was wearing it then. I was like, yes. And I was so pleased to see that. And he didn't talk about it at all. Didn't make a fuss, but he was wearing it.
Yeah.
He's wearing a piece of New Zealand on him. So that's cool.
At the beginning of that journey, years ago, when you were not embracing your culture, to recognize that it affect your mental health or who you were or how you showed up or anything like that.
Big time, man. Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, I grew up, part of the reason why I didn't do very well in high school was my identity crisis, and the fact that I've got Pākehā dad, Māori mum, but growing up in Christchurch away from Taranaki, I didn't have a strong connection to who I was. Didn't have a strong connection to my language, my tikanga, my marae, just these really important things that help connect you to who you are. I didn't have those, and that and also I think there's some other things in there around my anxiety. Just I was told that I was quite an awkward kid as well. That, like, I didn't make friends very easily, didn't connect very well. So I was seen as this awkward kid, which for that reason I was kind of an easy target to bully. And then I just felt alone, like quite moke. Didn't feel like I belonged. Didn't feel like I belonged in Te Ao Māori or Te Ao Pākehā. I just felt like I was this other. And when I lived in that for too long, it started, it's a funny thing around identity is you can only reject it for so long before it starts playing out in bad, negative ways. And that was for me is just a lack of belonging, a lack of hope for the future. I didn't know where I was from, so I didn't know where I was going, and that played out for many, many years in terms of when I was starting out at work. And with that, I ended up embracing, I guess, the life of the corporate culture. I adopted the corporate culture as my culture, really, and I just worked my ass off. Like that was my religion, that was my be all and end all, and that's why I think I rose through the ranks pretty quickly at Dick Smith. Going from part-time salesperson to national sales manager was really extremely hard work ethic, and that's still there. And I think part of the reason why I think I do well at Microsoft and other places is that work ethic is firmly embedded down. It's almost something I need to just be careful. It's like this beast within me that I can just work until I drop and get no sleep at all, just keep on going, but I'm lucky that it was around the mid 25s to 30. It was actually what happened, mate, was Samsung. I got made redundant, and that was my first time being made redundant. And now being in global tech companies, I've been made redundant heaps. But that was the first time where I was like, oh man, no matter how hard I worked, I was putting in the hours, man. And my second boy just been born. We're just trying to save up for a deposit to get into a house in Auckland, and that in itself was so hard. So much stress, and then they lay it on me saying, you've been made redundant. Nothing you can do. All of your hard work is we're thankful for it, but it's not going to change anything. And so I guess there was a soul searching there to say, far out, there's more to life than this. There's more to life than just working 24/7, 7 days a week. And that was the start of searching for something bigger and more meaningful. And I found my culture, my Te Ao Māori, my taha Māori, which has become this beautiful wellbeing framework. That is not just there for me, it's there for everyone. It's ancient. It goes back longer than just a couple of thousand years either. It goes back way, way further. Māori people are a Polynesian people, and the Polynesian people go back many, many thousands of years. And in that is this beautiful connection to the moana, to the sea, to the world around us, and how we karakia, how we waiata, how we think of connection to places that, this whole, I guess, business is built on a very commercial, neoliberal approach to resources in terms of, we look at land, we think, right, how can we buy that land how can we cut it up into pieces and profit from it? And and it's all about profit. And I guess Māori and Indigenous viewpoints takes a different perspective of, imagine thinking about that land as your grandmother, our first mother, and then take it a step further. You actually descend from that land, that grandmother, and the way you treat your grandmother in terms of how you protect for future generations so that your kids can benefit from your grandmother, is the absolute imperative. So it flips it from ownership to kaitiakitanga, or the fact that you can't own land. You can own your connection to the land. That's the only thing you can own, but you cannot own the land. I cannot own my mountain, Mount Taranaki. I can only own my connection to Mount Taranaki. And in fact, last year our mountain achieved legal personhood and is now officially, under the IZD law, no one can own it because it owns itself. So we're starting to even adopt some of these Māori worldviews into the legal practices as well. I remember, bro, when we first started talking about the settlement of the maunga, because it was a settlement process now. It was actually the Green MP at the time who said, we're not going to talk about ownership. That's too much. And that was like a non-negotiable for us, was we wanted no one to own it. Because it's the same as no one can own your grandma. So that was a non-negotiable. So we just waited it out. She got moved on. I think it was 4 governments until we finally settled. So we just waited. It took us a bit longer. But, kudos to the leaders, all of the leaders who did a lot of that work, to get it to where it was today.
So when you frame your view of work around all of this, the way that this relationship that you have with work, how does it change for you? Because I would assume that you are not really conscious of that identity crisis when you started working and you go through the ranks and all that. Were you aware that there was this thing, this lack of connection to your identity?
Yeah, I was kind of aware of it, but it was pushing. It was easier to not even think of it and just focus on work and and actually just get really good at being the best worker you can be. That was my focus and
the basis of burnout.
But at the time it was just, I was getting a lot of positive feedback from my leaders who were saying, "Hey, doing really well here, Dan." And I must say, it's you're one of our best leaders. Would love for you to apply for this next role. And then I did, and then did really well at that after a few years. And they're like, right, apply for this next role, and then and so moved up and up and up, and then so getting all of this external validation as well. Thinking, oh, this is it. This is what life's about. I'm like, okay, I'm killing it. Killing it. And then making it to Samsung, and by that time, I had this group of just people who thought, yeah, Dan's the man. He's going places. He's going he's going to be CEO of the world, and then being made redundant after 2 years as national sales manager of consumer electronics, and there's nothing I could have done about it. Nothing. It was just going to happen regardless, because there was a new leader coming in. She wanted a new leadership team. That's generally what happens, when they'll clear out their top leaders. I don't say that's for all companies, but a lot of the global technology companies, that's kind of how it rolls.
Some people are just doing the job, right? So I want to believe that there's no malice in most of those cases. Yeah. Right? So
we're just doing,
and I'm sure that it takes a toll on those people as well.
Totally, bro.
Yeah.
Last week we just went through 9,000 people at Microsoft. Some beautiful, amazing people have been impacted on it, and I really feel for them. And yeah, some of them are like, sweet, it's my time. Some of them have taken it really hard. I've been through it many times now, so I'm like, but even I say you kind of get better at it. I think I'd take it less emotionally now. And what helps is my wellbeing factors in terms of how I've integrated Te Ao Māori. So to your question before, bringing that into knowing who I am, when this stuff happens now, I know that I love Microsoft, but it's this part of my life, and my life is so much bigger. There's so many aspects to it. And you know, I think about what's special to me. Well, I love Te Ao Māori, I love our language, I love my marae, I love my whānau back home, I love my whānau here, my own hauora in terms of my exercise in the morning. I love getting into the sea every morning. You know, all these kind of things which would happen whether Microsoft was here or not, has been a real gift for me in learning later in life that I don't have to be defined by this small part of my life.
So for people out there thinking about in those dark moments, I was talking to a friend in the last couple of days who reached out and said, "Mate, I'm not doing well. Can we chat?" And he was telling me about how isolating his job feels right now, and how demotivated he is, how he feels like there's no purpose. Then we talked for hours. And one thing stuck with me. He asked, "Is there light at the end of the tunnel?" Because I don't see it right now. And it's really hard for me to recognize what's going to happen next 6 to 9 months. He has a baby on the way.
Oh,
yeah, for all intents and purposes, he is okay, but he's not.
sure. Yeah.
So from your perspective, what are the places you go mentally or physically even when you hit those walls?
Yeah. I've learned for myself to think really deeply about where my feelings come from, and that's been a journey of discovery around how social media, even things like TV, movies, games, how they can actually play a part in a subconscious way of tweaking my hopes and desires. And I think, you know, when I look at this concept of moi moia, or your hopes, your aspirations, you know, the moi moia, like the this Māori term of how you think of that future. You know, this is matariki, thinking about that next year. It's really you got to protect that. You got to that moi moia is actually quite fragile, and it can be tweaked and with new tools these days, they know how to really get into that and start fiddling with things that they shouldn't. And as people, we start thinking, oh, I should be earning more money, or I should have a bigger house, or my wife should be like this, or my kids should be like this, or I should have a nicer car. Why am I not traveling? I should be losing weight. You know, so all of these things that start making us feel like we're not enough, is I think when we really sit and think deeply about where do those aspirations come from, we find that it's not actually our aspirations. They're these ones that are pushed on us, or whether it's not even media, it could be a well-meaning mum, or well-meaning friend who just niggles us with little things and says, "Oh, you're looking really old these days," or like you're not as fit as you used to be, and just they're probably just saying it for them out of they think they're just throwing it in there just to sort of say something, but it's coming from something in them that's a lack of which they feel like they have to externalize to you, and they want you to take it on board as well. So the only way I've felt that I can deal with that personally is through having a structured approach to my own personal well-being. So as I said, I get in the water. I live in Stanmore Bay, so I'm lucky that I'm 5 minutes from the water, right? And I can get in that water pretty easily. It's just a matter of jumping in and then just before a shower. But I think as humans, when I say our first mother was the land, I say our first father is the water, and tangaroa is there for all of us and has been there for all of us as humans. So we're supposed to be on the land, we're supposed to be in the water. And even if it's just for a short time, just to get in there, I guess it's a cold sort of hit. It's an energy boost, but it's more just to be in the elements. And when I get in, I always acknowledge the world around me. So I acknowledge rangi nui, our sky. I acknowledge papa tuanuku, the fact that I'm touching the earth. Tangaroa hene moana maru, which is the moana, the sea. I look for a tree. Tāne mahuta, tēnā koe. And then I feel the wind on my skin. So that's tāwhiri mātia. So those are our key atua in terms of te ao Māori. There's many, many more, but those are the ones that I acknowledge in the morning. And then I look at rangitoto, because where I go to, which is in Stanmore Bay, I can look straight across at rangitoto. So I acknowledge rangitoto, and then I think about Taranaki, because that's my mountain. And then I go down to Aoraki, because that's the mountain in the South Island, which is where I grew up. So those are the three mountains I think about. I acknowledge them, and then I wrap it up in terms of an intention for the day while I'm in the water. I think karakia in the water is something, it like, there's a power. There's like getting a little bit spiritual. There is power in the water, and we know it because of the way it moves, the way it's a protector of millions and millions of species, and in terms of life forms within. And we haven't even travelled to the extremities of our sea, but the sea has a power that by doing karakia in there, we connect into that power, and it gives power back. So the water blesses us, the land blesses us, and it's touching those things, being present and acknowledging that those touch me. So I do that in the mornings, which is, unless I have to travel on a 7 a.m. flight or 6 a.m. flight, I may miss it one day, but I'll definitely get it the next day, So it's a morning ritual that helps me to center myself. So when those things happen, and they do happen, they'll happen again today, possibly, that's my reset button. So no matter what, and sometimes I have to be intentional. I'm like, oh yeah, that was said to me yesterday. So I'm thinking of that as I'm letting it go into the water. So the water can take away our mamai. The water actually, it drains out of us into the water and just dissipates. That's the healing power of water. So, while you're doing your acknowledgement, let the water take it away from you. And that's free. Yes, you can pay for like wellbeing retreats. Yes, you can pay for like all of these expensive people to do counselling and things like that. And they're very good. I acknowledge.
For each person, it'd be different, right? So
totally.
and I think the idea of you just said it. That works. That's what works for you. For some other people, it'd be different things. So
Totally.
I think what I take from what you're saying is you find that structure that allows you to purge all of these things that are in your mind, all of the things that are, putting weight on you, and just purge them through something. And for some people would be therapy, and for some other people would be just sitting down and listening to music or making music, like in my case. So
Or
there's
being in the forest,
or being
like,
in the forest,
or going for a
talking to a
walk.
friend.
Yeah, talking to a friend, definitely.
Absolutely.
And actually, those things are multiplier effects as well. I love being in the forest too. I love going for exercise in the morning too, and or talking to my dad and mum or my friends. So that stuff does definitely help as well. But they are kind of additive benefits as well. My base structure sort of is that, and then those other things kind of add on.
There's a question I asked everybody. So if you could define your relationship with work with a metaphor, what would that be?
Yeah, so I actually thought about this because I saw your last interview with Fraser, and I was like, oh, that's a curveball. But I thought about it, and I thought, with me, my metaphor is a waka or a wakahaurua, a double hold waka, and I said in my pepeha that I'm an Aotea waka, and that's where my ancestors came from, and the mass migration 600 to 700 years ago, they came on the Aotea waka. We know the people on there, Turi Ariki Nui. We know that the people who came here and then started our whānau and jumped off, and some of them jumped off into Rarotonga, some of them jumped off up north, and then some of them jumped off here, and then we finished in South Taranaki. But when Turi Ariki Nui first arrived, he said a wakatauki, or a wakatauaki, a proverb, which still is very well known today, and there's songs written about it and everything. And he said, e kōrero ngaro, he kākono au e roia mai rangi Aotea, which means I'm never lost in this world because I'm a seed born of greatness, descended from a line of chiefs. And that's a literal, like, there's a lot of other aspects to it. Rangi Aotea is our spiritual homeland kind of thing. So sort of talking about the fact that I am sort of a never-ending river, and I'm choosing to interact in this part. This part is me, but I am actually this long line that extends both ways, and so I'm a part of that river too, of his river.
That's beautiful.
And I also have used that wakatauaki to acknowledge myself in terms of I go into lots of different spaces. Having breakfast with Satya, there's that sort of, what am I doing here? I'm going to say the wrong thing, and then it's like I've got to switch into that wakatauaki and say, I'm never lost. I am who I am. Wherever I am who I am. And I've come from this line of chiefs, so I belong here. And that's that connection to the Aotea waka, the double hold waka, is what I think about a lot. And the fact that it gets stormy sometimes. Like right now, it's stormy with losing so many of our colleagues, and it's choppy and rough. And there's been many times when I've almost capsized. And I need to be cognizant about how I take care of myself, Michelle, my kids, my whānau, because they help right-size me. My whānau are sitting on this waka with me, and if I don't focus on them enough as the captain of my waka, it's going to capsize. And so I'm going to have to really focus on connecting with them, making sure that they're all good, making sure that they are checking in on me, making sure that we, like for Michelle and I, one thing I've definitely learned is, yes, we've got to have the husband-wife thing in terms of running the household, we're the CEOs of our household. And there's a lot of stuff, getting the kids to school, getting the kids to their after school programs and all sorts of stuff, and making sure the kids are fed. But then there's that connection piece, which we've lost in different times. And in this last year, we've really focused on just making sure that connection is really strong between us two as the co-CEO of that waka. And it's not just the waka at home, it's my waka at work. If we're not good, I'm not good at work. It's just the way I am. And so there's lots to that. It's connections like kisses and texts and just cuddles and stuff like that. And then there's the sexual piece as well. You know, we make an intentional approach to really. So once a month, we book a hotel. We go away, just us two. Josh is 14 now, so we can do that. We're like, and so that's been amazing, bro. Like,
I have grown kids as well, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And so we just book a hotel. I take her out for dinner. We focus on each other. We don't. Kids do come up, but it's really about us. What are our dreams? What do we want to do for the future? And yeah, our sex life has been massively improved from that, bro. And then morning, you know, I take her out for breakfast, and it's just us two. And we've found that we both need that. We just need that connection to each other. And man, it's been a revelation. So the fact that Josh is 14 helps. Not everyone can do that, I know. But if you've got parents in town, then that's we don't have parents in town, so that's been a real struggle for us. But now that we can do that, we taking full advantage of that. And yeah, there's a cost, but it's the best cost. Like, it's an investment in my eyes, and it's just a beautiful investment.
Being intentional in anything that you do, it's very important. But you know, when you have a project live together. So my wife and I, Cody and I, we've been together for 20 years this year.
Congrats, man.
Thank you
That's
so
awesome.
much. It's a lot.
That's awesome, man.
And we are so happy. And I think what changed for us is that intentionality. Before we were running, to use your analogy, we were running a business. But it was a business that was just running on autopilot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we realized that it was not okay to run it like that we were like, oh, we need to be intentional about this. The text in the morning matters.
Yeah.
I come back and I give you a kiss, a hug, matters. And that affects everything else around you, right? You mentioned that affects work. For me, it's just, if I'm not okay on that side of the waka, on the other side, definitely not going to be okay. So I very much like you.
And, you know, with the double hold waka, there's also the way that Māori navigated in that waka is they had these guiding sort of aspects. So there was the water, they used the water, they call it wayfinding, right? In terms of the water, the stars, the manu, the birds, the wind, the way the wind was. So they didn't actually have any kind of, that was the way they traveled, and they were masters at it, down to a T. They could travel all over the Pacific. And I think I've got those kind of things as well. I've got stars, and you're one of those, bro, in terms of one of those stars that helps guide me. Serious, you are. And then I've got some manu in terms of, for me, bro, I look at my son, Joshi, the way he got through cancer, the way he beat it, the way he is as well. He's doesn't have my same sort of inferiority complex that I had. He's just a beautiful soul. And so he's one of my guiding posts as well in terms of that. In fact, all my kids in their own ways, I'm like in awe of them, eh? Just, they really are a signal that my future, that they are my future in living form, but they're also my future self that I want to be in living form as well. And then, just even as bad as this gets, our tupuna, our ancestors, they were comfortable because they knew where they were going. They knew it. And so they're like, this is rocky at the moment, but I know where I'm going because of all of these signs that I can see around me. And they were just so in touch with the world around them that they could move forward. And that's my goal, is I want to be in touch with the world around me, acknowledging the people, the place, the spiritual aspects, the cultural aspects, really living in it and feeling it and allowing me to move forward with intention.
An extension of that, I think about that friend that was talking to me yesterday and or the day before. And I think when he asks about the light at the end of the tunnel, I think it's just look up. Look up and see all the signs that you were talking about.
Yeah, look for those stars, look for the manu, feel the water, feel the wind. There's these signs that the future, you're going to find that island. In fact, it's the way that our tupuna, when they navigated, the wayfinding aspect wasn't about finding the island. It was being in the right space, a wairua, a tinana, a hinengaro, from a full person perspective, so the island finds you. So that's what I would say to that person.
Whoa. Can you... That is so much. Thank you. That is so much. Let the island find you. It's help the island find you.
But you have to be in the right space for the island to find you.
And that can apply for anything.
Totally.
All those people who are going through redundancies right now, all those people who are feeling like the pressure of the isolation of... I keep talking about the isolation of executive roles, but there's isolation everywhere. We are driving a world in a society of people who are isolated more and more. And that scares shit out of me. So that being your own person, and then it finds you, that is so powerful. And I love that.
Yeah. And what I would say to any of our whānau who are made redundant and in those rocky waters, tumultuous, not just rocky waters, it's maybe your waka's capsized and you're like, game over. It's like, no, your waka's still there. It's still there. You've just got to right size it again, jump back on the waka, and the bigger picture is you can still find that island. It's just that this specific waka, and maybe it's not this waka, the Microsoft waka. You're finding a different waka in terms of a job waka. But for me, a waka isn't Microsoft. My waka is something so much bigger and more ancestral than anything to do with my job. And I'm careful in saying that in terms of saying I still love my job and thank you for not making me redundant. But I also don't want. I want to put it out there that the definition of who I am in terms of my intentional island is not Microsoft.
Your purpose cannot be. Sorry, I would rephrase. I don't think for me the purpose can be that. Because there will be a point where you find yourself that that's not who you are. Who you are, like you said, who you are, your identity
is 100% tied up in it. Yeah. That's important, I think, is knowing that perspective of like money, mana, these things that are outcomes of the good work that you do. I always look at mana as fleeting. Do you know what the term mana?
Yep.
Just for our listeners then, in terms of mana, it's sort of it's a bestowed chieftainship, leadership approach, that when people look at someone, they say, he's got mana, she's got mana. But it's something that is, it's like a puna. It sort of goes up and down. It bubbles up and bubbles down. And you, as a person, should never let that define you either, in terms of where someone, I just won an award recently, and I'm very thankful for winning that. But that was the Rangatiratanga Award. And so with that comes quite a bit of mana that people acknowledge me for. But I want to be clear that if they see that, then please try and look past me as a person and see. That's why I wanted to bring my dad up on stage when I got that, and acknowledge him as the person. And if Michelle was there, I'd want Michelle up on stage as well. And all of these people who make me, who would never want to be ever up in front of, like, Dad was like, nah, I don't want to get up there, man. No, just you, get away. And I'm like, come on, Dad. So I'm glad he got up there. He was uncomfortable as like standing right at the back. Yeah, I was like, come on, Dad. But it's definitely, I see myself as a group project. So many people have been an input into who I am. And you're starting with people like my nanas, actually going all the way back, starting with people like Te Puhi, my great-great-grandfather, going back to Turiariki Nui, when he said, e kore ai ngaro he kakono au uri mai rangi Aotea. These are the people who have made me. Yeah. And then there's a whole bunch of people down the rest of that awa who also make me. I'm not just a single person.
The sum of all parts.
Totally. Yeah. Totally.
How do you feel about mental well-being in our industry? I am no expert. I am no counsel. I come here as an open human who just wants to have human conversations. Yeah. And it could be a partial view of, maybe for me, we don't talk about it enough. Maybe for me, it's not enough. There's a lot of people out there that feel similar.
Yeah.
And I want to know your view and your approach, if you see any moving forward.
Kia ora. I also want to say I'm no expert at it. I'm certainly approaching it from a Dan Walker perspective. But I would say, from the first thing we have to remember is, we have to remember this. Is that we are all connected. And and that could be also part of the reasons why mental health is the way it is at the moment. We are facing situations, especially our young men, our young boys, and our suicide factors and all that comes with that, is they're feeling those connections of other stuff that's happening around the world, around our environment, our climate, let alone just the general pressure that's in the system. That is, it's just a lot more, I think, than when I was younger anyway. A young boy. I don't know what I would have been like, actually, if I was growing up now, as a young person, young man. So that's part of it, and that connection goes out to everything, not just other humans, but also, the world, the way the climate is, the way the ocean is, the way the land is. So as that gets treated, so are you treated, and that's the first thing. So acknowledging it, allowing yourself to be in a space of, for me, it's gratitude for those things that I have, and the fact that the world around us is actually, there's a self-healing aspect to it as well. And it's a constant self-healing. That gives me hope for the fact that anything that's in me can be self-healed as well. And I talk a lot, and this is something I learned from my tuakana whetū. Tuakana, that concept?
Yeah.
Tuakana in te ao Māori is your elder. So, and those in your elder lines, by default, there's wisdom placed in their whakapapa or their ancestry that is meant for the lower levels. And whetū gave me a beautiful gift of this concept of hongi, the taniwha. And so when I was going through my anxiety issues, when I was going through my mental health issues, I would beat up myself because I was like, why am I thinking like this? Why am I being like this? I would be hanging out with my kids at the park, and then all of a sudden this taniwha would wrap his arms around me, and I'd feel like shit, and start feeling really sad, depressed about losing my brother Tahu to brain cancer, losing my other cousin to cancer. And I'd be cooking, I'd be at the gym. So it was this taniwha that I felt.
Always with the mask. You talk a lot about the mask.
Yeah.
Love that concept.
Yeah. So
it's not new, but the way that you explain it.
Yes. Well, this mask that I would put on to be high performing Dan Walker in the corporate, this mask I'd put on to be perfect dad. This mask I put on to be the perfect husband, perfect mate, and just masks that I built up over the years, and largely because I always felt like I was that other, never belonging, and so you start putting on masks so that you felt like you could be accepted in these different spaces, and so for me, those masks were a way of covering and a way of adapting and surviving effectively, but also those masks, the danger in them is, for me, is the fact that if I receive any praise, you're not praising me, you're praising the mask. And so any love that I get, you're not loving me, you're loving the mask. And that's been a real struggle to kind of reconcile, and eventually, so the mask is also the taniwha as well, right? It's the alter ego. It's actually the taniwha is me.
Do you want to give us a quick 3 words of what a taniwha is for people who don't know?
Taniwha sort of has been seen as a sea monster, right? Or
like it used to use it all the time.
Yeah, and there's the waiata, the song, One Day a Taniwha, and it's generally a sea monster kind of comes out, but it's a friendly sea monster in that regard. But taniwha is more of a spiritual, this is what my iwi believe in terms of a spiritual protector, strong, and you can't always see the taniwha either physically.
Mm-hmm.
But they're there doing their work, and they're there protecting you and making sure you don't come down this area of the stream, don't come down this area of the river. There's a one of the rivers back home in Taranaki. We know we don't go to a certain part of that river because there's a taniwha there. But over the years, we've found out that there's been quite a few deaths there. So kids have died there.
Right.
People have died there, and they're like, the taniwha took them. So it's actually a very strong current through that part, and it goes really deep, and it sucks people under. So our way of dealing with that is we see there's a taniwha there, so don't go there. So as kids, we're like, don't go there. So there were ways and means that we built up, and Māori are very metaphorical in terms of how we approach things. So was there a physical sea monster standing there? We thought there was. But actually, it's also a protection mechanism as well. And our taniwha for us as people are, I would like to believe, our dark side. The beliefs around the light and the dark.
Yep.
The two parts of us that make us up. There's a part of us that we, through, some of our childhood things, some of our regrets, some of those things that happen to us, the taniwha is the one that takes over and receives those hits a lot. And to protect us, the taniwha receives and takes a lot of those things. For me, I was beaten as a kid by my mum's partner after mum and dad broke up, and I used to get the bash all the time. And
I'm sorry that happened.
Thank you, bro. Yeah. It would be a bash for leaving a toy out, leaving some lights on. Some of my cousins were playing up. I get the bash, get like proper hidings, and then to the point where I got taken off mum. And so out of that, it was an anxiety that kind of got sparked at that point, and the anxiety is still in me today. It's like walking on eggshells, making sure I don't say the wrong things, and it's the taniwha that sometimes I'll be sitting in a meeting where I think I don't belong here, or these people are way too flesh for me. That taniwha comes strong, that anxiety, and when I've, losing my brother was like one of those pivotal moments for me as well. My best mate, and then that was a taniwha, that sort of, those feelings of depressions would come over me as well. But what I've learned is the taniwha is me, and I'm a part of that taniwha. And as Whetū would say, hongi the taniwha, when we hongi, we exchange breath, we connect from a Māori perspective, from a life force perspective with that taniwha. And so that was a big part of understanding, actually, I am someone who can connect with my taniwha, and that can be a way that I can move forward. Hongi the taniwha. We've all got a taniwha. So how do we embrace and become one with our taniwha is a real journey. And so, even as you say, I'm sorry, I do feel that, and I feel that, my taniwha feels that too. So I've done the work on it. I feel like I have. I feel like it's become me, and I can feel that. But there's been a lot of work to embrace that. There used to be very much two parts, and this one would come and become way too strong at some points and just take over. And then bad things would happen. I'd get really angry. I'd get really down, real depressed. I think there's no hope. I think the world's over. And that's just the outcomes of all the hurt that I've felt over those years. So through a real strong focus on connection, that's been a wellbeing factor. So to your point, I'm bringing this all up because you said, the state of mental health in our industries and stuff like that, I want to leave that little koha as acknowledging that in ourselves, the fact that we are connected, but also there's parts of us that we need to look at as well, and know that whatever happens externally, we actually have the tools in us to help.
Always part of my discovery through depression and therapy and trying to get better was to understand that happiness comes from within. And yes, you have all of these things that you can use externally to guide yourself, to pull yourself out, to many other things. But ultimately, it comes from you. It has to come from you, because it's really hard to continuously and constantly get validation externally.
Yes.
And it's not always going to be there. There will be times where you're going to find yourself 3 a.m. in the morning waking up.
Yep.
And
that still
you
happens.
can wake up
Yeah.
your wife or whoever is sleeping next to you, but still, if you can't pull yourself out, it's twice as hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And that takes time though, man. And I think I'm hopeful for those who are going through the battles right now, that they know, at the very least, hearing that, hey, we're all connected, man. We got your back, so that they don't feel like there's no way out. Because again, with our men, our young men in particular, it's that lack of hope, that lack of feeling like there's a brighter future, which is the part that's really hitting home, I think. And we need, in terms of, I think, what you're doing here, but also what we do in our homes, how we take care of our kids, how we take care of our families, all of that stuff really helps there's a ripple effect that goes out.
Thank you. Last question. If you could whisper something to every person working in the tech industry tomorrow morning before they start work, what would that be?
I would say you are connected to me. You are connected to everyone. And that form of this, and that's why I open up with my karakia around connection. We're connected, man. Not just to each other as people, but to the world around us. And then not even just the world around us, but to your ancestors, and then your descendants. And we're connected in these multi-lateral ways, that I think that's really important to remember, is no matter what happens, how hard it gets, how intense it gets, because our industry is really intense, that what's really important is these connections. And I look at a lot of those people who have come through the industry and are now maybe on the end of the industry, they're retiring, and those who have made it to the end, and they may not have become CEOs or managers, but they've made it, and they're happy. They've got a good life with good family, good kids, all that kind of stuff, which is what I want. It's really been they've acknowledged their connections, and they're still really connected, and they've got a lot of friends, they've got a lot of those connections out there. So that's something just I want people to think about, is those connections are out there, and they've just got to reach out.
You are beautiful human.
Oh, thank you, bro.
I don't have...
So are you.
I don't have enough words to thank you for taking the time, for being so open about everything, to tell your story for me, with me, and for all the people out there. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for doing this. And to all of your listeners, just manawatia a matariki ma puanga. Just acknowledge matariki. Hope all of your loved ones are safe, happy and healthy, and this next year is going to be an amazing year for you. Ngā mihi.